It's cool and rainy here in East Tennessee. It's a good time to go out and look around and see what kind of roots we can harvest. The ground is nice and wet and soft, makes it a little bit easier to dig in this hard ground that we have here in Tennessee. Today I'm looking for dandelion, harvesting the root, getting ready for winter teas. Once the ground is softened up from the morning dew or overnight rains, it just really makes it so much easier to harvest anything that's deep into the ground. As we know, it gets hard as stone here. Here in my glen, I have so much goodness. Some dock, different herbs, the nettle and chickweed. There's wild strawberry, cleavers, having a second round here in the fall. In spring, I harvested so much, but you go through so much. So it's nice to be able to have that last round of foraging and harvesting before the winter comes. I always do the log checks for the different mushrooms after the rain. So I have a small deck off of the master bedroom. There's no access to it from below, just through the house and through the bedroom. So I thought it would be the perfect place to install a little retractable clothesline that's close to the laundry room and all of the closets. It makes hanging things out to dry very, very convenient. Able to come straight from the sink to the deck, let them drip dry. I don't have to worry about a mess. I have a umbrella over so the sun isn't damaging, but it's also helping to dry them enough so I can get to the point where I can put them, in a basket or bowl or whatever it is that I'm going to be drying them inside. I found this little shelf. I believe it's actually a cupcake holder, but I found this little shelf for $1 at a yard sale, and I thought, wow, that would be really perfect to put crystal, small little trinkets and things on. But of course, I wanted to add a little color to it, a little bit of pizzazz. I keep these little jars of paint handy. It's just an acrylic paint that is watered down, so it serves more of a purpose of a stain instead of a layer of paint. I like it so the wood grain can pop through. It gets a little bit of extra depth and interest. It's also very inexpensive, as you don't really use very much paint for a small project like this. Adding all of the colors that I have around my home and my favorite colors that I want to look at. I also made sure to paint the underneath side because I do plan to hang this on the wall so you can see those different angles. So I wanted to make sure that everything was covered and had a little bit of color. And a quick little stencil with some gold paint. And just a little gold paint wash down to go over as a little, just a little wash over to give a little bit of a gold sheen, a little shiny gold finish. I love to use the puff paints as a glue for the little mirrors or stones, gems. It's just an easy way to adhere something, but also to add a little extra pop of color and interest. So just adding the little tiny mirrors, and I just use the eraser part of a pencil or the tip of a paintbrush to push them into the paint. You want to be careful that you push straight down easily, because if you push a little too hard, it's just going to smear and be a disaster. And these little adhesive crystals are these little adhesive gems come from the Dollar Tree, so they're really cheap. They have the adhesive on the back, so they just self-stick. Easy breezy, adds a little bit of texture and color, a little bit of shine. So there you have it. For $1 and a few extra pennies in paint and the little mirrors and gems, we have a cute little shelf that will blend in with the rest of my decor. And so I'm taking down the dandelion after they've been drying on the line all day. I will bring them inside and lay them out to air dry. That's my preferred technique. I will just throw them in a bowl or a basket, and just every day or so I'll come over and just kind of fluff them up, move them around, make sure the air is circulating so they get plenty of surface drying, so they dry all the way through. It's not going to hurt anything to stop and just let it go longer, keep it in the basket, or just simply leave the lid off the jar. You just want to make sure that they are extremely dry, or else it can ruin the entire batch. And as I'm jarring up some of the dandelion with root that I have previously washed and dried, I decided that we might as well just go ahead and make a tea. I think it's always a nice little nod to utilize the product that you're working with while you're using it. It's just a really nice little gesture, a little thanks to, to the product, to the earth, and all of that. It's always a little bit of a celebration for me when I'm working with my herbs, especially when you get to the point where you're drying and you're storing them. That's when the real excitement comes in, because you're going to get to make a tea or a salve, or infuse an oil or something. I like to take the opportunity in the evenings when my guys are either in their separate corners or in bed. The house is quiet. Just what I did, writing down dates so I can keep a track of what I do when. That's kind of important in an apothecary, because you want to know, what dates you're working with as far as product age and such. It's also a good time to sit and study, read, take those few moments to unwind. My apothecary is definitely my place. That's my spot. I go to just sit and absorb the energy. I mean, look at it. There's so much goodness in this room. You can't help but just feel amazing. But it's the perfect place and the perfect time to sit and unwind, meditate, write in my journal, work with my herbs. If I'm anxious, if I'm having a bad day or week, it's just a good time to go in and sit with my thoughts and just kind of collect myself, have a tea, gear down for bed. I usually have maybe light a candle, pour a cup of hot tea, read a little, and just kind of take a few minutes. And here's the completed shelf with some of my little tchotchkes, some crystals, and just little things here and there that you have a hard time finding a home for some of the smaller things occasionally.
Next week, the apothecary expands into a whole new horizon.